Right, here we go. I'm delighted to say that my next guest is former Southend striker Tom Hopper. Tom, how are you doing? Fantastic to have you on as a guest. Thank you for taking time out tonight. How are you, first of all?
Oh, thanks for having me on. No, I'm all good. How's it all going with you? How far into the stream are you? 7
Yeah, it's a
hours.
little. It says just 7 hours. So yeah, it's a bit depressing. Like it's quite a long way, but when you sort of think, oh God, I've still got my maths is too bad to work out at the moment. But I think it's 17 or something like that, isn't it? So
You're
yeah,
flying.
it's a bit of a worry, but yeah, it's been going all right. Thank you. We've still raised over £4,000. So
That's amazing.
that's the main thing from that we're trying to do and raising awareness as well. So yeah, real pleasure to be seeing you again. And let's talk about your time at Southend to start with. Obviously, it started so well. You were on fire, weren't you? All those goals that you scored early on. How do you look back at your time at Southend?
Yeah, I mean, I loved every minute of it. I mean, I guess I came with sort of no expectations after that. I had 3 years at Scunthorpe before that, and moving down south. Um, and yeah, I got off to a great start. You know, a great bunch of people there at the club. Still, obviously, a lot there now that I keep in touch with. And yeah, the goals just started flowing for me, and then unfortunately, it all came unravelled by an injury. And
Yeah.
we seemed to hit a torrid time of about 4 weeks where just the injuries that came were just brutal, and they weren't even like little injuries; they were big sort of season enders for quite a few people, which was something I've never experienced, and hopefully I'll never experience ever again.
Yeah, it was just so bizarre, wasn't it? I remember in the short space of time you had you. I think Harry Lennon got injured in the same game, didn't he? Ben
Yeah.
Coker was around about that point at Sunderland, and it was just yeah, so bizarre. And I felt for Chris Powell as well because it just didn't quite happen for him, did it? And he was such a good guy.
Well, that's it. Absolutely. I mean, ultimately, any manager is sort of constrained to the players that in front of him on the pitch, and we had a lot in the physio room, not being able to provide that help. And like you say, he was such a great guy that everyone wanted to play for him and do well for him. I think Benji, took a lot of pressure as a physio at that time because not only was he trying to look after the players, but he was trying to get the injured players who were injured, but he was also trying to keep lads that are fit out and available for the manager. So, he was sort of all hands to the deck. But like you say, there was Ben Coker, Harry Lennon in the same game as myself. I think Sam Barrett and Lewis Gard were both ACLs as well within the same time frame. So I know there was a big sort of four of us, myself, Ben Coker, Lewis Gard, and Sam Barrett, all sort of doing our ACL rehab at the same time, which selfishly for us was great because it allowed us to sort of stick together and go through it with each other. But obviously for the club, not great to have four people on the sideline for an extended period of time like that.
Yeah, and how tough was that? Because you were doing so well, weren't you? I think it was probably the best start to a season that you'd ever had in your career. I think you got up to 7 goals really quickly. So, and it was quite innocuous. I seem to remember you just almost slipped over, didn't you? It wasn't like a challenge or anything like that. It was just, it's so innocuous. And how difficult was that when you sort of got the news that you were going to be out for so long?
Yeah, I mean, like you say, I was getting off to a great start of the season, playing some of the best football I played, my whole career. And really enjoying it. And then, like I say, it was an innocuous one. I remember it was Walsall at home. I think Harry Bunner just scored.
Yeah.
And then, I just went to press from the kickoff, the defender, and had to make another step. And yeah, my knee just sort of gave way. And at the time, I remember thinking, "Oh no!" But then thought maybe I just jarred it because I did try carrying on. I think Benji at the time knew that something serious had happened, and then had to let the swelling go down and got a scan. I think maybe a week later, and then I remember that all being a bit of a blur, and having to sort of ring Benji again that night after we'd seen the specialist just to confirm what the specialist had said in terms of it being 9 months plus. So yeah, that was tough to take. But like I said, from a selfish point of view, I was lucky to have a few other boys experiencing the same thing at the same time. And mental health being so prevalent these days, when I was probably a bit younger and naive, I probably wasn't aware of everything in terms of
Yeah.
my own mind, and maybe voiced a lot of that without realizing to people like Ben Coker, Lewis Gard, and Sam Barrett, who we spent so much time with. So yeah, it was a tricky situation, and that's something I always look out for as well with other players. Now, if they do get a long-term injury, I sort of do try and make an effort to make sure that they are having all the support that sort of they need, because everyone handles things so differently as well.
Yeah. Is it hard when you come back? It might be a silly question for me to ask, but is there almost a bit of mental scarring as well, where you're worried that you've worked so hard to get back to it that you're a bit worried that it might happen again, or as a professional athlete, does that sort of not into your head and you're just so excited about playing again?
Um, it's a mixture. I mean, unfortunately, I've had a few injuries which I've required surgery, and luckily, I've seen the best people, so I've become to learn and to trust the surgery itself. That you are stronger, and the hours you put in the rehab. We work seriously hard in that rehab, so I had to sort of have a little bit of faith in that, and in the work you've done, and try and not look too far past that, and if it may happen again or not. And I think it was more excitement, for the return. I think it was Tranmere away.
Yeah, I
Uh,
remember.
yeah, and I felt like I'd never left. I mean, I think my lungs were telling me a different story that night.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, I mean, I think it was just sort of a big emotion for me as well, sort of repaying the faith of the support of the sort of the whole support network there at the club, the lads themselves who had obviously been through it all as well themselves, either playing and just being supportive in that respect, because, it was a great dressing room full of great lads.
Yeah.
So it was just sort of being able to share that with them as well, which was always quite nice.
Yeah, I mean, he did come back. Obviously, it's never straightforward at Southend, was it? So the club had changed a lot during that time that you were injured, and there was always a lot going on. Seemingly, what was it like being a Southend player? If that's easy to try and describe.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, there was always a lot going on, and I think there still has been, obviously to this day. Obviously, with regards to the most recent positive news, which is great for everyone at the club. But yeah, there were no days were probably the same, which in a way for me I quite enjoyed, in maybe a sadistic kind of way. It was always good fun, and not knowing what was going on. I mean, I moved down here as a single 25-year-old, 24-year-old. So no sort of attachments or anything. So I was sort of quite, wide open to everything that was going on at the club, and just sort of trying to take it all in my stride, which probably helped me,
Yeah,
because, when it came to sort of payments or stuff like that, I didn't have any of the pressure elsewhere, if you like. Um, but there was some tricky times, but like I said, there was a great dressing room there of lads that really stuck by each other, staff included, to try and make the best of every situation. And I think the fans are always supportive of the group of players, regardless. And that was always something that was on the sort of the dressing room's mind whenever they were going out there disgruntled about anything. It was always, we've got to try and do the best for us as a dressing room, but also the people supporting us from outside as well.
yeah. And then your departure from Southend suddenly seemed to sort of come out of the blue. Was it like that for you, or had it been in the pipeline for a while, or how did that all materialise?
No, very much out of the blue. Ask anyone who knows me, it was very much out of the blue. I think it would have been probably within the space of 48 hours, it all happening from knowing about it. Obviously finances at the club were at a stage where probably certain things had to happen. And obviously it lined up with Lincoln for me, and what their project was, obviously being sort of from the Lincoln area as well helped it. Having said that, I was still based down south the whole time. I still am.
Yeah,
Um, I still am based down here. My now wife, and we've got a little girl down here. So I was still doing a lot of travelling, but yeah, the whole move did come about really quickly. And it was, for me, it was still a great 3 years I spent there. Obviously losing the player final wasn't ideal, but learned a lot, developed again as a player. But yeah, it was a move that definitely came out of the blue, but one I thoroughly enjoyed as well.
yeah. And from there to Colchester, we'll let you off because we like you. But how's it been going for you? Going for you there so far?
Yeah, I didn't know how well that would be received by yourself. Um, yeah, no, I mean, I'll be honest, I've struggled a bit at times for form. You know, I've sort of felt maybe like I say, coming back to be at home is brilliant. You know, I get now the chance to sort of see my wife and little girl every day, which is something I haven't been able to do for the last few years. In terms of football, you know, came in under Matt Bloomfield last January, and then felt like I got off to a really positive start. And then he moved on. I struggled for a bit of form myself. Um, and yeah, so I've probably struggled for a bit of form. Went into the summer really focused and having a good pre-season, and sort of hitting the ground running this year. And then found myself injured after the first game of the season with a groin issue. So yeah, back from that now. And so yeah, still wanting to, feeling like my game's actually where I want it to be. So now it's just a case of putting that into action on the pitch. Obviously,
Yeah.
form for us has been difficult since the start of the season. We've not picked up the results we want. But you know, it comes down to hard work and to go and put that right, and that's something everyone's aiming to do there.
Yeah.
And you know, it's a club that wants progress, and you know, and we'll be doing all we can to deliver that as well.
Yeah, but how hard is it? Because obviously we all grow up wanting to be Phillips, but it's a lot tougher than a lot of people realise, isn't it? There's a lot of pressures and it doesn't always go your way with form and fitness and whatnot. So how tough is it to deal with in those tougher times?
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's ultimately everyone's human. You know, every job comes with its own pressures. You know, I think I've been guilty of putting massive pressure on myself, um, especially moving to Colchester. You know, I thought myself, you know, dropping down a league, I need the pressure to perform. You know, so there's so many things that come with football, but like any job, you know, there's expectation. You wanna be the best version of yourself, um, from a performance point of view, and be a good teammate as well. You know, so you want to do all you can to, like I say, give the best version of yourself, but you can put yourself in a dark place mentally sometimes by that pressure. You know, I've done that to myself, and you know, only really recently recognized that, and you know, and went out seeking for help to sort of help resurrect that. Um, but again, I think that's something that's come with age for me. Um, you know, and life experiences, being around football for well, over 10 years now, that you know, sometimes you don't have all the answers as much as you might think you do. And there's no shame in asking for a bit of help sometimes. And you know, and it's made me feel, you know, a lot clearer in my mind, that's for sure. And you know, definitely give me a bit of perspective.
Yeah, is that like a sports psychiatrist? Is that type of thing? They're sort of becoming quite important in the game, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think they're just necessarily important just for football. You know, I think any sport, but also any walk of life. You know, I don't think, you know, we're always trying to encourage now, you know, more people to talk, especially men. You know, and you know, I think there's no shame in that. You know, people go to the gym to exercise their muscles, but you know, speaking to someone is no different to exercising your brain. Um, so you know, it's something that's benefiting me anyway. You know, it might not be for everyone, but that's fine. Like, you know, it doesn't have to be. So there's definitely ways and methods to improve how you see certain things, certain aspects of your life. If you want to make changes, you know, there's definitely ways to do that.
Brilliant, superb. That is fantastic. Thanks so much for coming on, Tom. There's lots of love from you from Southend fans in the comments section telling me to ask you to come back to Roots Hall. But as a Colchester player, I won't put you on the spot. But just to let you know that there's still a lot of love for you from the Southend fans. So I wish you all the very best in form, fitness, and everything that you get up to in the future.
Brilliant. No, thanks for having me on, and all the best with the rest of the stream. You know, hopefully you make it through the night perfectly.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.